Welcome back to Got Her Back podcast. Hi.
Hi. Missed you girls.
I missed you guys.
This is going to be a fun topic because I know you guys are big boss babes.
Oh, and Maria
is also a boss babe.
Also a boss babe. We're just going to keep saying this every week. For those of you who don't know, Maria does work for herself. She just forgets. She just forgets.
I am an LLC.
Because she gets to work from home and her job is so fun. I think because your job is so fun, you don't think it's a job.
Yeah.
Do you think? Or what is the block here?
I love creating content. So if you don't know, I'm a social media influencer and content creator. I used to be a professional photographer. I still think I'm a professional.
You're definitely a professional.
She's got an eye
but
for the fly.
I don't take photos like I used to. I just do it just for fun. But yeah, what I do is fun because I get to involve my family and just even learning more things. Now I'm doing a lot of the videos just so it's always.
I want you to teach me photography.
Let's do it.
I want you to. I love taking pictures, but
you're good at it. I do not want to learn.
I love it, and I want to know how to work a camera good.
You have all the equipment.
I do. I just need you to help me a little bit.
Our next photo shoot, let's just do us.
Okay.
And then you could shoot me.
Why did she make that look like?
Because I'm OCD.
I know.
You'll tell her what to do.
Yeah.
Like you'll direct from behind the way. It'll be fine.
Oh yeah.
So I'm a social media content creator, influencer,
insurance agent.
And I own Stella's Room, which is a permanent makeup studio, tattoo studio, fine line studio.
And so today we are talking about
mistakes that we made in business.
Business failures?
Yeah.
Ooh, I can bring the heat.
Yeah,
I messed
got
up
a list.
but
yeah.
12 years in. Sometimes I'm like, what the hell was I thinking?
Let's talk about how long it takes for Carrie to pull a trigger on a decision. How many conversations do I have to have with you to coach you to come in here and let it rip, tater chip?
Because I don't think of myself as a boss. I think of myself, I don't ever want my girls to think I'm like bossing them around, even though I could. I just don't, that's not my personality. So, I mean, even when I ask them to do something, I'm like, hey, so do you think you could, how do you feel about that? It's like, yeah, you
Megan's
have,
no.
yeah. And then I go over to Megan sometimes and I'm hanging out and I'm like, damn, I wish I could do that. Oh, one.
It's so funny because I was on the phone with our project manager. She was like, just give me the phone. Just give me the phone. You're taking too long to say what you got to say.
Yeah. Because I told her what to say and she was like hum-hawing around like, well,
Megan, tell them.
Do we have? And I said, just give me the phone, girl.
Tell them the first time I had to fire somebody.
Oh my gosh.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. And we had to have a conversation probably daily for 30 days.
At least, minimum.
At least, maybe.
I was just complaining and complaining and complaining. And I loved the girl. That was what made it hard. She just couldn't get it right, And it wasn't an artist. It was actually an assistant. And she was great. She loved to make coffee and all this stuff, but she might let the phone keep ringing so she can make coffee. Like, other things would go. And it got really old. Like,
what
fast.
is my saying for you?
Hire slow, fire fast.
There you go. Slow to hire,
It's so
hire,
true.
quick to fire.
It is the best advice. And she gave me great advice on actually like hiring advice that's always stuck with me, and then firing fast. So I'm getting faster.
Yes.
But the first one, I brought her into the firing meeting and I did not fire her. We left and hugged and went about our way, and she just thought it was a meeting. And then I did it the next day again, and then I got it the next day. But it took me 30 days of Megan coaching me every single night. I'm so glad you're still my friend. Because I would have been so annoyed. I would have been so annoyed.
Carrie, this is what you say. Just
word for word. Every day at the end of the day, I'd be like on pins and needles every day. And I'd be like, hey, did you get it done today?
No. And I would have the shittiest excuses like, no, well, we got kind of busy today. And, I would just make up dumbest excuses because I'm just so
I
non-confrontational.
cannot imagine you firing.
And then don't even get me started when it's your family. Like, don't even get me started. Like, that was just a person. Like, then when you actually, like, that would be my number one advice. Don't hire family.
Or friends.
Or friends. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Can I tell y'all that one time
Yeah.
I got fired by a family member?
Yeah, who?
Trent Shelton.
Your husband?
Sorry, like I have to put it out there. But when Trent first started speaking,
Trent. You didn't fire your wife. Come
when
on.
Trent first started speaking, like I'm all about contracts and stuff. So I set out his speaker's contract, and so I was like, I'll just help you out. I'll just handle your bookings. Like you don't even have to pay me. Just let me just handle it. He was like, okay, that's fine. No. It was not fine because then I got all of my feelings because bookings would come left and right. And I'm like, you can't do that day. Like we have something planned 3 months from now.
With your calendar?
On my calendar. Like he was like, Maria, no, I need to take this. Like this is money. This is how no, I can't. I wanted to go out to dinner and so he was like, Maria, I'm sorry. I love you.
But you fired.
But you got to find someone else to control because it ain't me.
I could just see him doing it too,
Yeah.
like very politely.
So that was the only time I've ever gotten fired
Thank you.
from
Trent.
a job,
Now you have that on your record.
and I didn't even get paid.
I can't. You'd be like, no, we are having a date night that night, and he cannot work.
For real?
Really, Maria?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Come on, Maria.
But now he has the best assistant.
Yeah, love
and
her.
she puts it on our calendar too. So any of the booking things he does, it's in a Trent Shelton calendar, and it's color coded, so I know that he's traveling. Because to me, I'm like, it's really hard for me to know when he's traveling, and I'm,
especially at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
That was my only firing.
I have so many mistakes. Oh my gosh. As
Okay,
a business
pick
owner.
If you could tell some of our listeners,
Look,
like,
I'm like itching. I've got
Yeah.
so many mistakes I've made.
what is a big mistake if you could tell your younger business self like not to do that you thought was a good decision, like not to do?
I think like it goes back to like giving into my negative self-talk, because early in my career, like there would be times where I would look at the company I worked for, there was different levels to awards, and I would be at the bottom level looking at the top thinking, God, I could never make it to the top. Like I'm never going to get there. Like those numbers are so big. They're so giant. Like I'm just never going to get there. And I would compare myself to others, which is like terrible. You should not do that. You should only compare yourself to yourself, because at the end of the day, really like you're only competing against yourself when you're a business owner. You shouldn't compare yourself to the others around you. And so even I did it just recently this month, you guys know, like I hit a top level achievement, and I never thought that I would. It was the second time in my career that I like did that to myself. And I was so angry at myself for discounting, thinking that I was never going to be able to, hit that level. So I had just wrote it off. And so, over time, I hit all of those things and multiple times. And, this year, it was the first time in 20 years that I ever hit, this level. And so I just, would say, like, don't discount and think that you can't do anything. You can do anything you put your mind to, like anything you put your mind to.
Yeah,
For sure. What about you, Carrie?
Don't hire family. That's like,
She's still on that.
don't hire family or friends.
Yes.
Like that is just like, that is like a really big one for me. Just because that one was probably the hardest thing that I've ever done. And maybe moving past that, probably like I spent a lot of money on stuff that I shouldn't have. So I think I would really hyper focus on keeping my overhead lower, versus then looking at everybody else and comparing myself to other studios and business owners and artists and things like that, and wanting like a bigger, better studio and brand new this and state of the art this and this. Like I would stay in my lane more and just like not pay attention to everybody else and try to keep my overhead very low. Because if you could keep your overhead, like I used to have a really tiny suite, like a business suite, and you weren't stuck in a contract for a long time. They pay all your utilities. You have a front desk person like for the building. All these things were covered, and they insure you and all these things. But you and in my mind, like I was just looking 10 steps ahead to where I wanted to be like the big dog, like with the big studio and all this stuff, where I wish I would have just stayed in the little suite and kept that super low. And I feel like I would have been a lot farther ahead if I would have just like stayed in my lane.
Because you probably thought that, oh, in order for me to grow, I got to be.
And it's not true because your clients, like for me, like as an artist, like your clients are booking you because of you and because of your talent.
Yeah.
They could care less like where they are, what it needs to be clean. I'm not saying that. It just needs to be clean and functionable and enough, just enough space for you. Like I feel like I would do that versus like think I had to do this big budget and big build out and all that stuff. I would keep it super small, keep my overhead really low, and then when I felt like I could do that, I would probably buy, like Megan did. I would probably buy and invest in a building of my own. That way the rent was just gonna be my equity in the end. So I think I would do that is like a major one I would do differently.
I wasted so much money on failed businesses. I started making more money than I ever thought possible in my main career, that I thought, oh, let me take this money and go invest it in something else. I had that drink business and it was in a big box retailer.
I completely forgot about that business.
Right. It failed because the big box retailer
it was so
bankrupted
cute,
us.
though.
I know.
The branding and everything was so cute, but
it was 5 years of my life.
Yeah.
Like I learned how to do everything from the ground up. Like with my business partners, we, learned how to create recipes and then take those to a lab, and then learned how to find a packaging place and a bottling company, and then go find a distributor, and then go into big box retailers and do these huge presentations, which was honestly like so far out of my comfort zone. I can remember like flying to those meetings thinking I was literally going to die on the inside. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like what in the world have I got myself into? It was just like a nightmare, like as far as internally, because those kind of meetings was not my wheelhouse.
It probably pushed a lot of growth for you though.
It did. And I would say like with any failures that as long as you learn from them, yes, it was a lot of money. I ended up but it was a lot of time. But what it taught me was that I'm a really good insurance agent. And I can do some things like real estate now that are passive income and invest that way, that are not going to take away from my main business, and solely focus on my main business, which is really, I think, helped to propel me to even the next level. And it's made me realize, I think with my personality, that, I get bored easy.
So I was just thinking when you were talking about that, I've done that a lot of times too. Like I did a online clothing boutique, and it did really well. Like it actually did really well. I just didn't have the time capacity for it.
Right.
So just because I didn't know that business, and people did try to tell me like, this is a big time investment. I'm like, and we did it anyway, and it could have been very successful, but I had to be like, okay, it's either this or this, because I'm already spread so thin.
Right.
I'm either going to do them both really bad, or I'm, or just kind of good, but I just needed to focus. I think just what you're saying, like focus on like what you're good at and just stick with that and keep building on that versus like keep shifting and all that. I mean, I even brought an injector in, and that like taught me a whole nother slew of problems, because I didn't know anything about that. So just, I don't know, trusting and keeping tabs. And there's a lot of people as business owners, whenever you start getting successful, that will come to you and want to piggyback off of you. And for me, that wasn't good at the time. It never works now. Now I'm like, no, I'm good. It's easy for me to say no now. But younger, I was, okay, let's try it. I would just like take them up on it, and then get myself in a bad situation where I've invested this money and I couldn't spend the time on it. I couldn't like monitor it well, so I would say no, like just stick with like, I say simple is better. Like,
for
just
sure.
Stay with the simple, just what works, and just keep building on that.
You can't have two businesses or two or three, because every time I've tried it, one is always going to fail.
Unless you have a great manager.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I didn't.
Yeah.
I just feel like I need y'all talking to me, because I'm almost like, okay, what can I do next? Like we say, I get bored too. Like, so social media, content creation, I'm like, all right, I want to do something else. I want to work for big companies, and, then I want to do so many things. And I'm just like, can I handle all this though?
I feel like you're good at reining yourself in before you pull the trigger though. Yeah. Like, I feel like you talk about it, and then you get to it and you're like, what am I talking about? Because
I remember a few years ago, me and my sister, we talked about like coming up with, because we're all like 2 out of the 3 of us are social media content creators. So we're like, well, why don't we create like a company where we create?
Y'all would be amazing at it. But do you
We
want to
came up with
spend the
the
time?
name and everything, and it like never went anywhere. Because I'm just like, my focus is, I'm not saying is a lot, like this is my job. So I felt like I was doing more of the thing. So I'm just like,
And sometimes it might not be the
working
right season because your babies are little. Like whenever they're all, you know, Tristan's age, you might be like bored and be like, oh, I want to like revisit that, you know, whenever you do have the capacity.
Like I should be doing more. Like, I know you were talking about like the little voice in your head saying like, you know, you can't do this. And
I think you just, for you, Marie, you need to like double down on what you're good at. If you double down on content, content creating, like you could make a ton of money. Like, I mean, the money that you tell me that you make for the posts that you do make or the videos you do make, I'm just over here going, oh my Lord, have mercy. This girl has like, you're just like on the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Like if you would just, and that's what I had to learn, but you've got to come to that on your own, just like I did. And I took a huge major failure, you know, in a whole other business. And I had partners that were friends that it was hard. Thank God I kept my friendships through that. And it was okay, but we lost a lot of money. You know, and I felt because I was the business person of that, you know.
You felt responsible?
Yeah, I felt totally responsible. And I had investors. I mean, it was just, and I ended up, you know, paying all the money back to the investors because I felt, you know, guilty. And so it just, like, you learn from those, you know, you have to learn from those mistakes. But learning from those mistakes taught me to double down on insurance, right? Like, what am I really good at? What are you doing? You're making this, doing this. Why not double down on this? And so it was eye-opening for me.
And you know, I know you're really good at this because we've talked about it before, and I know you're really good at this, but I just think it'd be good in this podcast is to talk about how important contracts are, because I know you're very good. Y'all are both, we're all I'm finally good with them too. And they've made a huge difference in my business, like knowing, like just doing everything under like contracts. Like it's so important. Even if that person you feel like you know, I mean, I said I've hired family. Like you think like nothing would happen with certain people, but always be a contract. I think that's like super important as a business owner. Don't skip the contracts.
Yeah. And read through the contracts too.
And read the
Because
contracts.
there's been times where I've gotten, you know, contracts
Give us an example.
where it's like, I remember this company saying, oh, we'll pay you, you know, $7,000 to do this. I'm like, okay, this seems really easy. But as I got down to like the contract, it says your fee is only guaranteed if you make an X amount of sales. First of all, I'm a content creator and an influencer. I am not a salesperson.
Yeah.
I bring awareness to your brand. It's your job to sell the
sale.
products.
Yeah.
So when I read that, I was like, nope, red flag.
Yeah.
No.
That's a good one.
Listen to the red flags in business.
Red flag, no. Because
Contracts
I
are
know my
important.
worth.
Yeah, I've had to learn, go back to employees, like you have to learn like some tricks of the trade that I've learned over, and I think I've shared this with you, Carrie, is too. One thing that I've learned for the hiring process, because usually like when I would be hiring, I'd feel so desperate and say like, I just need a body in here. Like I can teach them whatever. And so I had to, you know, we talked about this in depth. Carrie was like, you're an amazing trainer. You have an amazing talent. So I said, look, I want you to start hiring off of, for you, I want you to start hiring off of the person individually, and like, are they a good person? You know, do they have good core values that match up with yours? Because you could teach anybody what you do for the most part. You need really good people in here, because you were getting burned by people that did not have good core values. They thought that they could use you to get to a point and then start running all over you. And that's not good. You don't want people like that around you. I have a team now where it's solid. Like a lot of them have been there. Half of them have been there more than half of my career at this point. And so I also, when it's time to bring someone new, I do a round table. So I interview them, and then I'll let my staff, whatever location that they're at, I let them round table as well. And I let them answer questions. I learned that from another agent. I would say one other quick tidbit would be, you know, if you get to a point in your career where you think that like you don't need to ask for help, or that you know everything, and that you don't need to grow anymore as a boss or as a business owner, then you might as well shut your doors, because things change constantly no matter what industry you're in. You need to constantly be able to go with the times and change and ebb and flow with whatever's coming with you. This year is the craziest year in insurance for sure, like as far as like underwriting rules and all the boring stuff, you know, not just rate, but it's just crazy. And if you can't like shuck and jive and be able to change with the times and go with the flow, then like you're going to become something of the past. And I feel like that it doesn't matter what industry you're in, you for sure need to be able to, you know, go with the times.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Like I remember using your advice this last time whenever I was hiring. It was such good advice. Like even having someone else come in and interview them, like you said, like and ask them different questions and then getting their feedback, but also like just hiring based on humble beginnings and personality and morals and things like that you connect with them on was way more important to me. I was like, I can teach them anything. For the most part. And then also I thought it was really very important to tell them like they were on a 90-day probation period, because I feel like people can fool you for a month, maybe 2. They cannot
For 3.
rein in the crazy for 3 months. Like they just can't. Like they will let it hang out, whether it's laziness on their appearance, being late, just it will eventually come out. People can't lie forever. Like, so they're going to put their best self forward, right, for a little bit, but they get real comfortable real fast, especially with me, just because I feel like it comes out a lot faster with me just because I am very laid back. They think, oh, well, she's chill. Like maybe those rules don't apply. And then I'm like, ooh, like they'll be late every day or whatever. Like, I just feel like the 90-day rule is really good. And then hiring based on their personalities, because the environment is what's so important in my industry. The environment is like super important.
I know another thing that you worked on, and probably that you have to work on too, being at home, like are your boundaries, because like with you and Trent both working from home, like you've got to have boundaries as far as like the work-life balance. You know, because I know you've talked a lot, me and you kind of are in the same, like I wait till the last minute to do a lot of things, and you kind of stated that too. But you guys talk about, like, I know you've worked on your boundaries like with staff. It's hard, right? Because over time, like your staff becomes your family. You're with them more than what you know, like you're with your family. So
you know, I didn't even give my I was so traumatized from last time. Like, I mean, I did everything differently this time. I didn't even give them my number for like a year. Like we used the app Telegram and we use that. And I would say it's important things that go on here, and we, you know, and I'll get to it when I get to it, but you know, you shouldn't have to like call me, you know, late at night for anything. Like just throw it on there, and when I get time, I'll check it. Just because I got so like hardcore with my boundaries, and I'm the same exact way with my clients. But I feel like as long as you're communicating those type of things, like I feel like everything boils back to communication with me, like just learning how to communicate better, because I've had to become a really good communicator with, you know, and speak up. So even when I'm meeting a client for the first time, because you're going into a relationship with them, like I do permanent things, so they're going to come to me every few years. So I will tell them right off the bat in the consultation, like, this is the way I work. Here is my number. And I work off of a different number. Like I give them a different number. Here's my number. I want them to feel connected to me and personal. And like you naturally think that we're friends when you end the appointment, because we're girls. You're spending 3 hours with them. They're telling you very personal things with your life, but also they would think they could text you at midnight or 1 o'clock or whatever, because they're like, oh, she's my girl. Like they could be out drinking and like start texting me and sending me selfies of their eyebrows and stuff. So now I give them a different number and I say, hey, here's my number. Feel free to text or call me, but just know that if it's after 6 p.m., like I'm probably not even going to see it till tomorrow at like 8 or 9. So, you know, there shouldn't be any type of thing you would need after that. So just know you're probably not going to I would tell them, you're not going to get a reply from me because I'm with my kids till tomorrow morning. If it is an emergency, call a doctor. Like there shouldn't be anything with me that would be an emergency. So I tell them like right up front, and they don't even do it anymore. Because I tell them, like, I'm just very like upfront.
Yeah. Maria, how about you? Boundaries at home?
I live with Trent, so it's kind of like he's always like, "What you need to not be so reachable."
Yeah.
Especially when it has nothing to do with
You are very reachable. I love it.
Only because,
To me.
only because I respond to y'all right away. But there are people in my text thread, I'm like, I'll just respond, and then I forget.
Yeah.
So he's always about, I'll have to ask him about what he talks about. Like, it's like a 12 p.m. rule. Like, so you cannot reach him until 12 p.m. And then he'll decide.
He was telling
whether
us
or not.
about this when we were in Bali.
Yeah,
Something
it's also in
about
his
he
book.
doesn't answer anything,
Yeah.
any work
Oh, it's in
thing,
his, okay.
Yeah, it's in
or
his book.
anything until noon. And he was telling us that in Bali that he doesn't even like mess with his phone or like
Yeah.
get back to anybody or anything like that. And that he's pretty straightforward about it.
So what are your boundaries? Like, do you have boundaries like when you need to work or whatever? Are you just good at like asking for help, or like what boundaries do you think that you would have? Because you've got to have something in place in
Yeah,
order
I
to.
do
Are
be
you
able
like
to
a
ask.
do not disturb focus
Well,
mode?
Well, mostly yes, only because I'm a procrastinator. So I'm literally doing content like 2 hours before it's due. Like right now, I'm thinking about the content I have to do tomorrow because tomorrow's my only day. And so that's when I would probably ask Trent to step in. Hey, can you please just record me really quick? Because it's quicker for him to record me than me having to bring around my
Set it
truck.
all
Yeah.
up. Mhm.
I mean, like today, I was like, look, it's going to be quicker if you could just come here and set us up.
Yeah.
And then, so my boundaries is
Use Trent.
use Trent. Use Trent when
Hey.
I need it.
Hey,
Is that-
whatever works. Whatever works. If you got
But
a Trent in your
I
life,
I do want to say though, like especially for business owners, and like what you said, like growing with the times, I will always tell business owners and companies, please use social media.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the first thing I do before I hire somebody or before I go to someone is look at their social media. It's sad, but that is
It's
the truth.
so true. Like I had to put myself in a customer's position and be like, okay, if I'm wanting to go get my lashes done, how do I find them? Okay, well, I'm going to Google it. So Google is very important, where I wasn't putting much into my Google. So I really started working on my Google presence, whether that was asking for reviews, getting new QR codes, making it as simple for the client as they can. Like lots of reviews, like asking for reviews, like people are looking at those, like especially like they're definitely.
I mean,
looking
when we
for
go
them.
look for new restaurants, let's look at their socials.
Yeah.
What does
Yeah.
it look like?
Yeah.
Reviews.
Let's look at photos. Let's look at reviews. Let's look at their Google. I might go after that. I'll probably go search a hashtag like
Yes, definitely
DFW
hashtag.
lashes or something like that. Like, so I try to put myself in that position so that I can basically replicate that
Y'all,
on
and
the
it's so
other
funny
end.
because for weeks I've been Googling Got Our Back podcast and we never came up,
Uh-oh.
but now we do.
Oh,
I mean, because remember, people were like, "I'm
Yeah.
Googling Got Our Back
Yeah.
podcast. Y'all aren't popping up. It's a different.
it just
podcast.
takes a while.
Yeah.
It just,
takes a while.
that's
You
what
just
I
have
tell
to-
all of my students. Like,
Basically, spam.
yeah,
Yeah.
it takes
Not
a while.
spam. Like you gotta flood. If it's something that you love to do, your business is what you love, and you want to keep talking about it. Oh well, people get annoyed with it. Oh well.
Yeah, but if those people on social media get annoyed with it, they can unfollow you.
or
They can
mute
snooze you.
you,
They can
yeah.
whatever. Like, then they're not your people. Like, I mean, and you got to realize too, like what I told myself is I barely see your stuff sometimes. I barely see your stuff. They're not seeing it every time you're posting, like
Right.
because of the algorithm and things like that. So you could be talking and maybe 5% of your people are even seeing it at this point. So why not just keep talking about it, like to
Yeah.
finally hit those people?
And so that's what I always say, just social media. And you don't even have to do, we talked about this a few weeks ago. You don't even have to do everything about your business. People want to know you as
Personal.
an owner.
They wanna see your face.
Feel a part of.
Reese and I were talking about this actually the other day because she's been building her business, the Sculpt Project, and she has been building that for, I know, almost 2 years now. It's probably been 2 years now. And people in her hometown, which we're in a really small town, were just now saying, I didn't know that was you. I didn't know that was yours. I would have been and I'm like, because you don't show your personal face. Like, I know you don't like to be on camera, but you have to show yourself at some point. Like, you have to make it a little bit personal.
Here's another good one. You know what I learned? Is learn to say no.
Ooh, love.
Yeah.
My favorite thing to
Yeah.
say.
When I had Spencer, I think like going into COVID, that was like a big thing. You know, I had give back and I do give back still. Like I want to be like, I firmly believe when you get to the top, you should take as many people with you to the top as you can, because, you know, there were many, many people from all facets of my life that helped me to get where I am. So I do feel like you should, give back. But the main thing was I got to a point where I was giving back and putting so much time and effort into others that I forgot myself along the way. I forgot myself, personally, and I forgot myself in business as a boss. And whenever I had Spencer, it made it easy for me to say, like, no, I can't fly to wherever and come speak, or no, I can't do that Zoom. So when I started investing back the second time, back into myself and my business again, I think it also opened some doors and allowed for, some other things to come into my life.
You had room for it.
Right. And expand my own business and be able to go to 3 locations. There's no way with the way I was giving back and at the speed and all the things that I was doing in my evening times before I had Spencer. But I think it's like learning, and we've talked about this, Carrie, a lot, is like learning like what is okay for that season in your life. And it's okay to like push and pull back. And that's what like I want you to like focus on like this year. It was like, it's okay at some point to, pull back if that's what's good for that season in your life. Maybe you were having to, figure out some things on the personal side or in your personal life that cause you to like, because we're all just people, right?
Oh my
like,
gosh.
and we all can only, I can only do so much.
I was
right?
conversating with my girls a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, just going through my divorce and everything that I think once you get on the other side of it, I'm like, thank y'all, because they're fine. They haven't complained one time. They haven't been on me. They haven't told me how terrible I was. I was like, I really feel like I have been doing a terrible job. Like, I was usually like posting every day, like doing all kinds of stuff. There's time, and they're like, no, you've been amazing. You've had so much going on. We're good, and that's the kind of people that you need. And so now it's like, I'm ready to like, she's been like, and you've been like pushing me again. They're like, okay, so when are you gonna?
What's next?
Yeah, what's next? Because I know I need to grow again, because I did that last year because I didn't have the capacity to do what I was doing at the speed I was doing it with everything going on and be a good mom. And, I was having to pick my kids up from school now every single day. I've never had to do that. There was a lot of things that I was having to do that I've never had to do, and work and, and move and sell your house and clean your house and make it look like no one lives in your house. And I lost my dog. You know what I mean? It was just like, there was so many things that I'm like, now that I'm on the other side, I'm like, wow, I'm glad I had the team that I had,
So
because there's no way some of the other girls would have given me the grace that I was given this year. Like, they were like the perfect
So
people.
what is the formula to finding a rock star team? Because it sounds like you guys just...
I would tell you, you're going to have to like...
I know.
hire. Well, hers is a little different because hers is service industry.
Yeah.
Mine is service industry, but it's more like computer work and that kind of stuff. So for me, it honestly sometimes takes me 5 or 6 hires and I have to weed them out before I get one good one. But like once you find a good one,
just
don't get held hostage to an employee ever. Like you like if you have trusting your gut, right? Like if you have a bad feeling about somebody and like they're not going to work for your team, because the worst thing you can do is like keep them too long, because then they can come like cancer in my agency. And so then they start talking about me,
spreading.
Right. Or talking about others or causing distension. Or the good thing right now with having 3 locations for me, which, sometimes I have to move one to another location and be like, okay, you're not a good fit for this team over here, but let's go try you over here. And that's also helped me to like work as well, to where maybe I know that person is still a hard worker and a good worker. They're just not, jiving, with right over here. And then if they fail at 2 teams, then it's okay. Now we might need to revisit this, but it's also to work ethic, looking at their work ethic. I tell my girls all the time, like, we have a job to do. We all know what we came here to do. But at the end of the day, like, my job also is to make sure that they're good people. Like, at the end of the day, I want them to be good people in life and go home and be good mothers and good wives if that's what they are, or just be a good person in general. Like, to me, that's more fulfilling. Like, it's great if we can all produce some insurance, and we do have to do that because that's what pays all of our bills. But I want my people to be good people too.
You want them to be good people. Like, for me, like, I have so many clients that I could never service, like them all. So I'm asking my clients to trust my other artists. But with that, I want my other artists to replicate the way they felt when they were with me, which I was like, how do you do that? You know what I mean? Because I have such a good relationship with my clients. I want them to feel like they're still in the same environment. And so for me, it was just creating like a really structured workbook in the beginning and training of what to expect. And sometimes it's stupid things like, this is the stations that I listen to on, you know, the radio. We don't listen to Cardi B, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you would be surprised how many
Just
times
your mental.
you would come in and there would be like just explicit music, and it would be burning up. The temperature would be burning up, and no candle burning, and they don't conversate with the client, or they don't greet them. You know what I mean? Like, so I had to really think about that as far as like, this is what we wear. This is what we do. This is the music. I'm trying to recreate the vibe, basically.
Right.
Like, this is what it needs to smell like. This is what it needs to look like. This is what it needs to feel like. These are the things you can say, and this is the verbiage that you should use, and this is the verbiage you shouldn't ever use. You know what I mean? So the clients need to feel that. And so I feel like that really crossed over finally once I made a very detailed employee book and trained them in that way. And it took a lot of the thought out of it for them. Like, they feel confident after a few days because they know exactly what to do. Like, they know exactly what they have a step for step, like, opening, like they go down this little bullet point thing.
Right.
And
Carrie
that's how
that flies by, that just goes with the flow, has standards and policies, and
you would be so proud. And because I remember, like, this sounds so dumb, and this goes into personal relationships too, but for me, I would remember thinking all the time, like, she knows I wouldn't like this. She knows I wouldn't listen to this music. And I would just like harbor that, and I wouldn't voice it. And it would cause a lot of resentment. And then I would just like blow up. You know what I mean? And they would be like, whoa, why is she so upset? Like, she's never said anything to me, because I didn't give them the foundation. And also I never spoke up. So they were also very shocked. That was on me. As a bad boss. I feel like, even though I was coming across very nice and relaxed and all that, inside I was just like dying inside. And I was doing everything. I was working myself like into the ground. Like, they wouldn't sweep him off. I wouldn't say anything. I would stay and sweep him off. And then I'd be pissed. Like, I'm like, I pay all the bills here. Why am I
Right.
internally, like the chatter. So I don't do that anymore, and it's all just like a group effort. So I feel like it's just like setting yourself up in the beginning and just being super like overly clear.
You know what I've also heard about with business owners, like finding people that they could depend on, but then they also tend to take themselves out of the business. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of like, it's your business. Don't you kind of want to know what's going on? Like, I've heard about the Delta CEO who flies in coach because he wants to see.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm really struggling with that right now. I feel like I've got so many systems in place, and I think that's part of I'm really, really, really struggling right now.
Finding your place now?
Right, is because I feel like I've worked myself out of a business. Like
out of a job.
Out of a job, not a business.
Out of a business, yeah, out of a job. Goodness. Yeah, because I literally go and I used to sell, and now running 3, I have to manage. And so going back to kind of like hiring, again, I know we keep going back to employees, but for me, I had to learn, I had to look at myself in the mirror and see, what am I good at and what am I not good at? And so I knew that I had to hire what I was not good at the beginning.
That's a good one.
Right? Because I had to counterbalance. I knew I was not good at customer service. I used to be really bad at cussing clients out when they'd call screaming.
Imagine that.
Yeah. In insurance, they call screaming a lot. Their bill changes by $1 and they're screaming. And I'm like, bye, And so it just was not good. But then I also had to learn that I also had to replicate myself, which is what Carrie needs to do on that facet. I had to be able to find people that could sell as well as I could in order to replace my numbers. Because for a long time, I couldn't even take a vacation because my numbers would tank. Now I have such a great sales team that it's like never skipping a beat. And so now if I sell, it's just more added money on top of that. But I'm not missing those sales and my numbers haven't tanked. And so that is something that I really had to learn along the way was, the counterbalance. So at the beginning was hiring for my weaknesses and being okay with looking myself in the mirror and saying, what are you not good at? Because it's easy to say what I'm good at. I know I'm good at sales, right? Mm-hmm. But what I wasn't good at, I had to go and figure that out. And also too, you get to a point in your career is what do I not want to do anymore, right? And
that's your emails.
And hire for that. And also letting up the control and realizing that if I can just get over myself and let up the control, like giving the people, you know, the okay, like now another fellow agent told
That's
me
so
like,
funny.
Megan, let your staff check your emails. And I'm like, what? No way. But I was doing 300 to 400, 500 emails a day in between 3 agencies, and a lot of it were replicated. Now I have it all split out into 3 separate email boxes, and I have a staff and a backup staff that have access to those emails, and things are getting done a lot faster. They're not having to wait for me to send it to them. Things are getting funneled a lot better. I'm still able to use the flag system and still know what's going on, but like they're taking care of it. And so that really is kind of what's worked me out of a job.
Yeah, but I mean, I told y'all this before, but I was speaking to a counselor before about everything on my plate and stuff like that. And she was like, why are you not giving things off of your plate and
delegating?
And why are you not delegating and this and that? And I guess I did have control Maria issues.
So now it's called Maria issues.
But she explained it to me that is our ego. And she was like, what makes you think that you're the best person? You're the only one in that place that can answer these emails properly. Yeah, it is. And which feels really weird because we feel like we're doing it out of love and we're doing it for the people and all that. But it's our ego telling us, nobody can do it the way that we are doing it. And that's where ego like creeps in on you, where you don't realize it. Because what makes me think like that I'm like the best person at doing this and that nobody else could do it better? That's crazy. So, and these are like little tasks and another thing, and this, you know, just kind of piggybacks off of what you were saying. Sometimes when you're training people, you're showing them the same thing over and over. Like you said, it could take you 5 to get 1 or whatever. So something that could always help, and you probably already do this, but just recording yourself doing that way you don't have to keep training them. You can screen record on a lot of different programs, and then whenever a new person comes in, you just pull up those files and it teaches themselves. You don't have to keep repeating yourself.
Well, luckily, one change I made too is I used to think that I needed to get people with no experience because I was too cheap, you know, to hire somebody and pay for somebody that had experience. Now, all the people that I've got are like through my acquisitions, and then now I won't hire unless they do have, you know, experience, because there's enough people out there that need a job right now that you can get them with experience. So luckily, knock on wood, I won't knock, but you know, that has been kind of another thing that I've learned to not be so cheap, because when you have to like spend so much time and then you train them and then they may or may not work out, if you can get somebody in there that can just be like ready to go, you may pay more for them, but they're ready to go from day one. That honestly saves you more money in the long run, because you're not investing all this training period for somebody that may or may not work out with your team.
Yeah.
And I've crashed and burned a million times that way as well. So I find that getting someone with some experience and already has their licenses and already is ready to go, and all I have to do is teach them like our way or our systems, has been working out a lot better for me as well.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are such great boss babes and boss mamas.
We overtook it from you a little bit.
No, I love it because I'm, you know, what I'm.
I think the difference is that we have a team and you get to work, you know.
It's my ego that I don't want to
this is what we're doing wrong. We need to just work by ourselves and we could be in our bubble like Maria.
I think next time, so like I could even just talk about just social media.
Yeah.
That'd be a whole podcast in
that
itself.
needs to be,
for sure.
You're so good at it. I mean, I just had to call you last week.
I love talking to you guys about business because, I mean, just because your business is insurance, your business
She was shocked. I'm like, hey, I need to chat with you about business.
And I was like, Trent, what business do I got that she needs my help?
She should have known automatically that it was social.
You know, we could all learn from each other.
Yeah.
You know?
We all have strengths.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We all have weaknesses.
I have lots of those.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Same
and I know
here.
a lot of us now are becoming more entrepreneurs than anything.
And I've never had family that were super entrepreneurial or anything like that. So I never had anybody I could like go ask. It was just all trial by error and failing forward is what I like to say.
And the failures doesn't mean that you're failing. It's literally learning.
Yeah, you got to learn. Like in order to like
grow,
success comes from failures. And if you don't learn from those failures, then you'll never become a success. I will tell you, Carrie, don't get teary-eyed on me. you know, my dad used to be my go-to person. I'd call and be like, what do you think I should do with this person? And he'd be like, well, what do you think is fair? But, you know, now that dad's passed, like, you're my go-to person for business.
I'm
because
your go-to business person?
of course you are.
Seriously?
Yeah. When I need to, like, you know, bounce something off, I'm like, Carrie, what do you think? I don't
And
know.
I just don't think of myself as a business person.
It is just being a sounding board and being a good friend. And then also, like, you also, because our personality types are different, you can give me a different perspective.
Yeah.
Like, you did help me to learn that, like, one of the things I'm not good at is attaboys. So that I started a group text message during COVID, and it's helped me tremendously with my staff, because I found that I was constantly just going to them and screaming and being like, I need this. We need 10 commercial. We need 5 life. We need.
You get a lot more bees
Right.
with honey.
Right. And so then me being able to
This
just
is
tell them,
what
like, you
my
know,
grandmother used to
all
say.
their sales on the text, it's just like, they'll be like, good job, you know, great hit, way to start us off. And so I found that I've been able to be more positive through writing with my words, which is a strength, you know, because I'm a better writer than I am, you know, like with a voice.
Yeah.
You know, love language isn't just relationship. It's
All of the above.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, so one time, this was super helpful. I had all of my artists take a personality test. And I used that with the way that I trained and, you know, led them every single day. And it was funny because every single one were so different. You know,
Right.
some of them were, you need to really stay on their ass. And then some of them, you need to just encourage them a little bit and they just like fly with it, you know?
Right.
So, and then some of them just need like more responsibility. And then they're like, you know, their chest
Same.
gets bigger.
Ooh, we should
you
take
know?
a personality test.
Okay.
That would be fun.
I just had to.
I did that. I did that on my last job like years ago, and it was so funny because my boss was like, you know, it's so funny because I didn't want to tell you about your results until after, you know, I got to know you, and he was like, you're very controlling.
You're like, oh, I know.
No, because we had to hire somebody to take over while I went on maternity leave, and she kept crying to him like, I can't work under her. She's so mean. And my boss was like, she's not mean. She just
Likes it done a certain way.
Yeah. And if you're going to take over my job while I'm gone, I want it to come back. And it's the
Will you
same.
come like organize up here and get
Are you
everybody-
going to hire me?
Yeah, we'll definitely hire you, girl. I told you.
So
Come on.
y'all heard this. If I ever need a job and these people don't come through,
I got your back.
I got your back.
I got your back.
I think it's a good wrap up, right?
Yeah.
Right.
We should wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead, Maria.
Thank you guys so much for listening to Got Her Back Podcast. Follow us on all socials at Got Her Back Podcast. And also, I don't think we've ever done this, but you got to follow us personally too. We have Megs Unfiltered,
Oh.
inspired by Carrie, and Mrs. Maria Shelton. Bye, guys.
Thank you.